Atomos and Zcam just announced the support of ProRes RAW on the Zcam E2 camera.
The Cinema 5D virtual show is brought to you by B&H, the professional source for all your video needs. CVP, the leading specialist in creative cine, video and photo solutions. Tilta, arm your camera. Nanlite, professional lighting solution. And Sattler, set your ideas in motion.
Hi, I'm Johnny from Cinema 5D and welcome to our virtual show. Today I'm with Dan Chung from Atomos. Dan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. And greetings from London.
And while it's after midnight in London, it's early morning here in Tokyo. And by the time that people will watch this video, you just announced together with Zcam a new exciting news. Share with us. What did you just announce?
Well, we have announced that we're going to support ProRes RAW with the Zcam E2 cinema camera, which was something that I think a lot of Zcam users were expecting because there was a lot of talk about it on the Zcam user forums. But we've officially announced it today, and we are very pleased to say that it will record up to 4K P60, so 60 frames a second in 4K using the full width of the sensor, or near enough the full width of the sensor, to get you some lovely RAW which you can edit happily in Final Cut Pro and very soon in Premiere.
Just for those who are not familiar with the camera, this is a Micro Four Thirds camera. And you've been working with it a little bit, am I right?
Yeah, personally, I've had one of these for quite a long time now. As you know, Johnny, I have a lot of cameras. I have a lot of pleasure in playing with a lot of cameras. But there is something quite unique about this particular camera in its size and its weight, and actually the image quality that you get for such a small size. And then by adding the ProRes RAW recording, you're literally taking all the data from the sensor and storing it, preserving it. You're just taking that image to the next level. And I think people will be able to see that very soon with the sample footage that we're putting out today.
We will talk about the ProRes recording in a second, but just to say that we tested this camera. Gunther, my colleague, tested the camera, and you can check his footage right here by clicking here or here. I never remember which side to click, but anyway, please see, it's a short documentary that he filmed in India. That was before, of course, this announcement, this exciting announcement was announced, but still the camera is very capable, and it has a lot of internal recording, including Zcam, their own RAW recording. So why would you support external ProRes RAW recording within this camera?
I mean, from my personal point of view, I like editing in ProRes RAW. I find it very useful. I like to edit in Final Cut Pro, and it's also supported natively within Premiere. Obviously, you've got the choice of the Zcam RAW there if you want it. I guess you have to ask Zcam why they decided to go with both. I guess Zcam RAW is technically not RAW. It's a partial debayer, a bit like the Blackmagic RAW. So on a very technical level, it's a little bit less than full RAW, and I think maybe you should ask them. But from a user perspective, it's nice to have the option to have a genuine RAW codec, as well as having other codec options inside the camera, which you've already you tested and had a go with. So I think what's increasingly common these days is just having that full range of codec options available, and I think people don't settle for just having one or two codecs anymore. It seems like you almost have to have every codec under the sun. And I think what ProRes RAW is a standard now. It has become a standard. I know a lot of people said, oh, it's just proprietary and whatever. But if you look at the number of cameras that are now supporting it, you've got Sony, you've got Zcam, you've got Canon, you've Panasonic. S1H is looking amazing. It's just a far more complete lineup of cameras than you'll get in any other RAW format anywhere else.
Then did you say Canon?
Yes, Canon, but only insofar as the C300 Mark II and the C500 at the moment.
No, that in general, it seems like 2020 is the year of ProRes RAW, because obviously it is really developing very, very fast, and it's very nice, as you said, to see a choice of codecs to record on.
Sorry, we do, of course, record regular ProRes for a lot of cameras as well. I think it's easy to forget that, because actually ProRes is still the most universal codec. So for a lot of cameras that don't have ProRes natively, which is most of the Japanese cameras, then we offer that option as well. And then the RAW is just the next level. So it's nice to have both of those choices. But there are some times when, even if you've got ProRes RAW available, it's nice to just go back to ProRes because of the speed.
Sure. And let's talk a little bit about ProRes RAW and Atomos. What device do you need in order to record the ProRes RAW externally?
So depending what camera you've got, you will need either a Ninja 5 or a Shogun 7. In the case of the E2, at the moment it's initially available on the Ninja 5. That's the first recorder that's going to get it. We haven't said as yet whether it's going to come to other recorders. I would personally hope so, but again, we will see how this goes. I mean, I do think that the size and weight of this camera suits the Ninja 5 much better than any of the larger recorders.
I think it's worth noting that the Zcam E2 is about $2,000 US, and together with the Ninja 5, I think it makes it one of the most competitive priced packages for shooting RAW. And lightweight and really light. It's lightweight and very competitive, but also the Zcam, when it comes as a bare-bone camera, it's very hard to control it because it has no monitor or viewfinder. So in a way, what you're offering is a perfect combination. Besides shooting ProRes RAW, can you control the camera itself or anything that can enhance the usability?
Yeah, so that's another thing that we have a lot of user requests for, and we have said today that we will support some camera controls, a lot of camera controls from the Ninja 5 touch interface of the Zcam. So we haven't shown it yet, we haven't shown it working, but rest assured it is coming. Those Zcam users who are looking to control the camera from the Ninja 5, they won't be disappointed. There'll be a way to do that. And of course, like you say, it's a really good monitor as well. So it kills a lot of birds with one stone by putting it all together like this.
I think it's very fair to say that by using any RAW format, it's not necessarily giving more dynamic range to work with, because this is determined by the sensor. So what is the main advantage of working with ProRes RAW?
Literally, it's the amount of data you're getting. You're getting a huge amount of data from that sensor, and you're able to manipulate that data much more readily than you would do if you had just recorded in a normal compressed codec. And especially towards, when you say you don't have more dynamic range, it can give you the appearance of more dynamic range because there is more data in the areas near to the hard clip area on the top and the bottom end. So there is more detail in the shadow and there's more detail in the highlight. So whilst the actual stop range is the same, when you actually grade it, it appears that there's more going on really close to when you reach the top of it and the bottom. One slight negative, perhaps, that people associate with RAW is that it is they look at it and think it's noisy. Well, actually, it is noisy, but it's no noisier than any other format that you're going to get from the camera, because all that you're doing is moving the noise reduction from the camera itself into your computer, where you can actually do a better job of it. And a lot of these cameras do a great job of noise reduction in real time, and that's an amazing technical feat, but it's still within the limits of what you can do in real time. And so if you want the best possible quality, actually, if you run good noise reduction software in your computer on a RAW file, you're going to get a better result at the same exposure, ISO, whatever. And then the other thing that I think people forget is, just like in grading work, with noise reduction, you can also lasso, you can just take the noise down a bit in the shadows and keep, leave the face intact or whatever. You can do all those things if you're doing it in a computer, and you can't do that in the camera.
So let's summarize and say that by deploying the ProRes RAW, or any RAW for that matter, the flexibility while editing is simply greater.
Yes, absolutely.
How about availability? I guess it's going to be a firmware update for the camera. Can you please just let us know?
Yeah, and I mean, this is the best bit. So, this is going to be completely free as an upgrade to owners of the E2 and of the Ninja 5. So, it'll be a free firmware from Zcam, which I believe might actually even be out by the time that you watch this. And then from Atomos, sometime within June is what we've said so far. Maybe early, maybe later, not quite sure yet, but it'll be in June.
Okay, just that I got you right. So first of all, the camera manufacturer, Zcam, will support it by a new firmware update, and you will follow with another firmware update during June, so both devices can actually talk to each other and execute this ProRes RAW.
Yes, that's correct.
Just for me to know, how difficult actually is it to implement ProRes RAW with each manufacturers, because you are literally working with so many manufacturers and it does take time, and maybe for the outside world it looks like, hey, why they don't just simply do it? Can you just tell us a little bit about the process before we wrap up this conversation?
I mean, I can't go into sort of technical details, but I think you've kind of explained the answer in your question. It does take time. That's it's not because we're sitting there with our feet up, twiddling our thumbs, doing nothing. We're actually working very hard to get these things done. Or not me personally, but our technicians are doing it, and so are the camera company technicians, whether that's Zcam or Panasonic, Sony, all those people. It is a reasonably complicated process, I think. And I think unless you really understand this stuff, you would have no chance to be able to pull it off. There are a lot of very high quality levels that you have to reach, and when you're talking about some of these camera companies, they have standards, as I'm sure you'll know, that they're very fastidious. They want to make sure that everything is just so before they sign off on anything.
Then my last question, and be aware of the answer. When is the next time we're going to talk to you again about ProRes RAW implemented on a new camera?
I'm hoping very soon. I think Jeremy, our CEO, has said he expected there to be more than 20 cameras by the end of 2020. I know we've had COVID and we've had all these delays to camera launches and everything else, but I'm still fairly optimistic that that target's going to be met. Maybe close at least. And if that's the case, you only have to divide up the number of cameras left to go by the number of months left in the year to figure out that there'll be something quite soon.
Then, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And guys, thank you very much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Yes, please subscribe. Damn it.